Hi, and welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today we're going to be taking a look at the G.I. Joe Classified, the Target exclusive 181, the Steeler and Short-Fuse 2-pack. And there you go. They are available at Target right now. I went there this morning. They weren't on the shelves. I went in there, got the DCPI, asked very nicely, and guess what? The person was very kind to go in the back and get it. So if you don't see it, ask for it. Don't be a complete DB and then have someone and yell and scream at them and wonder why they're not willing to help you. It's probably you. Anyway, here we go in all his glory. And this thing still didn't come with a Mobat. I thought for $55, Hasbro would have at least given us a Mobat with these two figures. It's such a cheap company that, you know, they only do things for themselves. Oh, wait a minute. That's all right. I'm on a tangent. Let's get into this. Anyway, here we have Steeler. We have Short-Fuse and all the accessories. We will be comparing them to my original. That's right, my childhood Steeler and Short-Fuse. All right. Here on the side, we have some artwork. We have 181. Here we have their file cards right there, and then we have the QR code that will take you straight to hell. And then on the back, as we can look at it, we can see Short-Fuse dropping a mortar in. We have Steeler there wondering, why don't I have a tank? A little bit more photography right there. And before anyone wonders what this is in the background, that is clearly from the mass device right there. But I believe this is called forest photography. That right there goes to the 4-inch mass device set, and I only know because I got it in the past like year and a half, 2 years, something like that, or parts of it, shall I say. And I actually have that little dolly right there. But anyway, I think I've rambled on enough. I think I've insulted enough people to start off with. Let's get into this because no one wants to continue to look at me. But before we do, if you like this type of content, you like when I insult other people, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classified review. All right, so we got the figures out of their plastic prison, and I always like to go over the accessories first, but what we'll do here is I'll go over these accessories down here, the blast effects, because we've seen them 100 times. Then I'll move on to Steeler, then I move on to Short-Fuse. All right, so quickly, we've seen all these blast effects. They're giving them again. Some of them I think are really good. Other ones I'm not a huge fan of. So we have this kind of explosion one. You can kind of already see it's a little bent right there. They are pliable. Remember, this is 4 and up. That's the reason why you get this. There is a plug in the middle. So if you wanted to combine them, now I'll say this, I think this is like perfect for like a shotgun blast or just some sort of rapid fire and you just have the explosion. But I think the shotgun blast by itself looks pretty good. We have this one, which I actually like because it has a little plume right there. And then you're supposed to have the bullet, or you can call it a laser, depending on what you want to do, or what you want to call it, how you play with your figures. But I do like the detail, and it does have a little bit of paint on it to make it look like it's smoke. We have this long shot, which I think works better as a laser. But either way, it's your toy. You can do whatever you want with it. Again, all translucent, very pliable. And then you have the yellow just painted onto it. We get a little bit longer one. It's pretty much the exact same, or very similar, shall I say, in the same vein. Bullets coming out further, lasers coming out further, however you want to say it. And again, yellow right there. All right. I do like this one. This one is great for machine guns or submachine guns. And let's say they're moving either back and forth or up and down. So here's where you have the actual bullet. And this is kind of like a trail of, it'd be better if it was white, so it's like white smoke, but I guess it doesn't matter. It's all in your head cannon. Really, if you're going to be using this stuff, how it works with your photography. Here's a nice explosion. This is really good for back blasts. I guess it can also be used for the front, but I usually use it for like the back blast of bazooka and stuff like that. Again, you have the translucent. You can see how it starts to change color, and I think that has more to do with how thick it is down there. So you just kind of see it start to darken up. We have this one, which reminds me of the Stranger Things monster. Again, you can pop blast effect in here. I think this is better for like a laser, although I think this actually kind of works for like, again, and when I think of this, I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator when he's just kind of letting it go with his M16. So then we get this plume. I've never understood this one. I don't think I've ever used this one, to be honest. It looks decent, other than I don't understand how to make it work properly. So you have the white here for the smoke right there, and then you have the translucent orange going through. And the one thing that I will say that is nice with the classified is they give you either yellow or orange, or they tint it a little bit differently. So there's a lot going on. And here we have the smoke effect. All right. You do have it, it's the translucent, so they pretty much painted it mostly white. You still get some of the tints of orange, but I actually really like this one. I've talked about having the smoke effects from different brands because smoke's not always the same, that's for sure. All right, on to Steeler, and we will take a look at his accessories first, and we'll just start off with the reuse. And here we have Snake Eyes', the original Snake Eyes' 00, his knife. Now, if you look at his accessories, you can see these are cut on, or these are done on the same mold as the original Snake Eyes accessories. So you get this nice knife. All right, you got a nice handle here. You can see the rivets that are holding it together. You have the guard, and then you have it painted silver. You get a little bit of serration right there. It's not too blunt, so it doesn't look awful. This is one that I don't have a problem doing some photography with when need be. It's not too blunt. Here we have his the pistol. The reason why the barrel sticks out so much is so you can put the suppressor from the Uzi on if you want to. Now, people might ask, why does he have an Uzi? Well, the original one came with an Uzi. All right, he was one of the. There weren't all that many figures, the vehicle drivers, that actually came with weapons. Though he was in the first wave. So I don't mind this weapon, other than I hate how long the barrel is. I've argued with people. Most barrels aren't that long. I understand they're toys. It's done to put that suppressor on it. But you have a nice grip, a small extended magazine. You have your trigger and your trigger guard. All right. Not a bad gun at all. I hate the barrel. I'll never use it without a suppressor. Here is the Uzi. All right, there is no removable magazine. All right, this was before they started doing it. Again, this was actually done before they started doing realistic weapons. They went with a 00 Snake Eyes, then they went all onto the Operation Blackout style stuff. So we have the collapsible stock here that should move in and out, but it doesn't because it's a toy. You have the extended magazine. There's your grip, your trigger guard. You have your iron sights right there. Going all the way down to the barrel, you have a suppressor that comes off, and now you have a regular Uzi, which will look, it's bigger than what his would have come with, but more realistic. The suppressor, you can put a blast effect in there. So technically, if we want to, you can pop the blast effect right there. And this also will support that. So now you have a suppressor for this. I know, I've heard people in the past say, well, it wouldn't use the same type of suppressor. It's also a toy, and I wouldn't shoot someone with a toy gun, but hey, what do I know? All right, on to his helmet. And here we are. This is his iconic visor. I don't believe anyone else ever used this visor other than Steeler. All right, so this is the from the accessory pack. All right, we're going to look at them in a second. But it does flip up, and then it's going to flip down. And it is translucent, or it's translucent, so you can see through it. So I wonder how well we can see his eyes. We're going to find that out soon. Here we have a microphone, which he didn't have, but let's be honest, he should have. You got the microphone right there. There you have the headset. All right. Also, I'm assuming the headset is also for sound, to muffle it, so he's not having his eardrums absolutely blown out. Now, this looks like a completely new helmet. I don't remember this one. If I'm wrong, hey, feel free to let me know. But you got this the little mark right down there. So comparing the two, when you look at the visor here, it's a little bit shorter. And I always assume this visor to be some sort of like binoculars that are built in. All right. But they just pretty much did the rectangle, the Scott Summers look in many ways. Helmet is, well, the helmet's the helmet. All right. Then on to our Steeler. And quickly looking at it, he has some really nice hair. All the different strands in it give it a lot of depth and some feel to it. Brown hair, which does match the original. Now his eyes are not looking up. I've mentioned this numerous times, and somebody recently mentioned it on one of my reviews. He is looking straight. When you're looking at the camera, for some odd reason, and I double checked this, has happened with a few figures, they look like he's looking up. He's not. So his eyes are straight. All right. Some nice color to him. He's got the eyebrow right there. You can see his nose, a little bit of color in the lips. Ears look really good as it just kind of flows all the way down. Very basic buck here. We've seen this used numerous times before, but the undershirt is a lighter, like a lighter green. He's got the dark green right here. You got the zippers and the elbow pads going down to his gloves, which, let's be honest, he's a tanker. He probably needs to have some sort of gloves. If you're a tank driver, let me know if I'm wrong. This is, I believe, is completely new. This piece that they're using here, which I'm assuming we'll see it time after time, and I'm fine with it because I like stuff like this right here. All right, so you can see the padding over here on the shoulder because you don't want that digging in. This side here is just a regular strap, but you can see where it's stitched together, and it also stitches into the belt. All right, you see all that stitching comes around here. That's, I'm assuming, where you're going to adjust it. This is going to flip up. All right, and then we can flip that right back down, and hopefully it plugs in and stays like that. We get down to his belt here. You can see the buckle. Two different carabiners right there. All right, as the belt completely goes around. So you can see what this is. This is an overlay belt where his actual belt with the belt buckles are underneath, molded onto the figure. I like this because it's going to keep this holster, this pouch and everything from falling down. That is one of the biggest gripes that I do have. I believe Bobby B may have been one of the first people that kind of started complaining about it, and I thought he was kind of just being over dramatic, but then you start to realize how much they just dropped down. It's one thing, I understand maybe it's not realistic, but it's very problematic, and we'll see it on Short-Fuze in a second, just with his knife sheath. So here we have the sheath for the knife. We have a nice little pouch right there. The detail that they put in here, where it's clipped in, looks really good. It's going to wrap completely around here. You can see this is where the suppressor is going to go. And then this is for the Uzi. Now I know people are going to say, they don't make holsters for Uzis. Again, they're action figures. So nice and decent right there. It is opened up the same way that we get with Law and Order, or Law, shall I say. A couple little pouches right there, and then just kind of flowing all the way down. You can see the wrinkles, which again, when you do in photography, brings out a lot of depth into the figure. All right, here we have his boots. It doesn't look like there's laces, so they're probably covered up in somehow. Again, I don't know how boots really are in the military. I see some with laces, some without. And then you can see the tread and everything right there. But when you look at all the detail in this, this one really pops. But you can see all the wrinkles throughout the boot and everything. All right, to compare these two, here is our Steeler. And once again, Steeler, if I'm correct, actually has the same face sculpt as Short-Fuze. All right, so they did a much better job of making him look individual. I think this is one of the better face sculpts, to be honest. I actually think this one looks really good. He has a lot of character. So he's got the same color hair. We can see they changed the color of the of the shirt, the undershirt, just like that one is. They gave him the same style, little V holster. He is a much different green, so I would assume eventually we're going to get a retro card version with this guy. Doesn't really have anything here. He doesn't have a broken crotch. I'm glad they fixed that. He's got the black gloves. Here he just has a pouch over here and a pouch over on that side. So they created the pouch there. They just gave you a couple little pouches, but put the holster for the Uzi, and then he has the black boots. All right. So very similar. Now the one thing that I think that was a miss, and hopefully if they do a retro, is that this should have been gold. You see how this is gold? And I only say that because when you're doing retro, and again, if they do a retro card, that's how it should be. The only reason why I say that is because this stood out as a sore thumb so much to me as a kid that if you were going to recreate it, I would have loved to see this be actual green. So, all right. As for the articulation on this figure, he can look down that much. He can look up. I think you know my feelings. They shouldn't have changed this, or they should have modified it. The fact that these guys can no longer look up, to me, is problematic. Again, I like to get my figures shooting upwards, sniper poses, different things like that. His head can move back and forth. He's got a wonderful T-pose. Turns at not only the at the shoulder, but also at the bicep. Double pinless elbows, and obviously his wrists are going to swivel. Same with on this side. This figure is very smooth. Don't have a problem. They do have butterfly joints. Again, these are butterfly joints. They don't work. All right. Butterfly joint should allow it to cut over so they can hold the pistol with two hands without really bending the elbow. They work really well going backwards, but the fact is I need them for the front. This needs to be cut out a little bit more. The ab crunch, which allows them to look down like that or look up this way. I know I'm in the minority. I like the ab crunch better than I like the the ball joint. Swivel back and forth. All right. There's the Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is definitely going to be hampered by the drop-down straps there. He does have drop-down hips, so they pop up and down. He has his thigh swivel, double pinless knees, his boot cut right there, and his ankle rockers. All right. So all in all, a good buck. We've seen this buck used numerous times. Offhand, I can't think of who else uses it. I know in the comments someone will tell me, probably yell at me, that I don't know what I'm talking about. That's okay. All right. As for the helmet, we're going to kind of squeeze this thing on. We want to make sure that we don't catch that. I have a feeling that's going to get ripped off at times. Oh man, he looks awesome with that. Like, wow. That really makes the figure. Now it makes me want to go order the ramen tank. I'm not going to because I already have too many vehicles. So we have his pistol in there. If we drop that down, you can see his eyes through there. So if you're really good at photography, you should be able to just you should be able to get that. And maybe I'll try that. I'm not great at photography, but the iPhone does a wonderful job. Oh, man. I mean, I like the head sculpt, but then I'm just looking and I pop this down and I'm like, that's a sharp looking figure. And I think just the basic green really makes him pop. All right. As for the knife is going to sheath right there. We're going to pop this off here. We can kind of slide the suppressor. I'm just sliding it up, but it's tight enough that you don't have to worry. Now, it is right on the back here. Now, if you end up getting a tank, or I mean, you can order the Ramen Hunter. You should be able to seat him if you want, because he does sit perfectly like that. So he's going to fit in your vamp, your all-strike, or anything like that. And as for our Uzi, it does pop in there. Now, once again, they like to fit everything on their person, if possible, and I think they did a really good job with this. I cannot complain that much. Even though he's a much different green than this, let's be honest, that makes more sense and actually looks way better. Now on to Short-Fuse, and I think one of these weapons is actually supposed to go to him. Doesn't really matter right now. We'll address that in a second. So I always like to start off with the reuse, as I mentioned numerous times before. So first off, we'll start off with the knife. I believe this is reuse because there's a few parts that come from Outback. So you have this big knife. You got the nice black handle there, a little bit of a guard. And then here we have the big blade. You got the serration right there. And it's thin enough. It is pliable. I mean, you can straighten it out. It's not gummy like it used to be. I know people will get mad that this is too much. Again, 4 and up people. We have the weapon that came with Outback right here. And here I have this one here, so you can see they are the exact same. This is an M4 platform from what I understand. I don't know what's up with the magazine. As a kid, I always loved guns that had the sling. I called them straps. Unfortunately, as an adult and in these types of figures, they are so rigid that normally they don't really work. They even get in the way when you're trying to pose the figure. It kind of sucks. But looking at it here, you can see where the sling is supposed to be here. That's going to set on his shoulder, so it's not just digging into it. He has some tape on it right there. It's going to wrap on all the way up. You can see where it's going to clip in on both sides. He has a scope here. It does have the iron sight, so if you pop the scope off, you still look through the iron sight. This also is in digital, not a digital, but like a magnifier, I believe. No stock on it. You have your grip, trigger guard, trigger. You got your foregrip and your port for blast effects, which should work perfectly fine. You do have a removable magazine. Now, these magazines, if they're anything like the original ones, tend to fall out fairly easy. But if you're like me and have friends like Tony's Figs, you'll have 1,000 of these guns because he bought a bunch of these figures to customize and said, here, take the guns. All right. Then we have the shovel, which, if I am correct, came with, this is the entrenching tool. I called it a shovel. People yell at me, it's called an entrenching tool. I'm not sure. Yeah, this one must have come with Outback, because it has the peg for the backpack. I don't know if this thing goes on anywhere, but this is actually pretty sturdy. All right, if all the plastic was like this, not pokey, not rigid, so it would break, I think people would be really happy with it. So, looking at it here, it looks like maybe it's supposed to extend. You get a nice little grip right there. You can see where it's riveted in. You get your nice silver. You can use it as a weapon. You use it as a dig tool, which probably makes sense. Maybe you're going to dig the mortar down a little bit so you don't have to worry about it moving out of place. All right, on to new stuff. And we'll start with not Rakondo's weapon. Now, we all saw this, and most of us, I won't say everyone, because then people will be like, I never said that. And I'll be like, all right, whatever, I'm sorry. You also knew the ending of The Sixth Sense. Okay, so this looks a lot like Rakondo's weapon. Here is Rakondo's weapon. If you're wondering why so many of us thought it was Rakondo's weapon, well, you can kind of see. The tape's in the exact same spot. The stock is very similar with tape. The magazine is completely different. So that's just a quick side-by-side look of the difference. They made it so the magazines are universal. So this magazine does come off. All right. And look, there is a bullet inside of it. So if we want to swap the magazines, hey, and if you're lucky like me and have friends like Tony, you have a whole bunch of magazines that you can kind of just drop them all over if you're doing photography. So this has a what is supposed to be a extendable stock. The tape is sitting right there. You got the tape on your grip. I do believe that one looks to be a little bit longer. Clearly, these are designed to be the same type of weapon, but they're probably by two different manufacturers. All right. So, a little bit different up here. You got the tape up here, tape over here. You do have the port for blast effects. We'll grab a different blast effect here. And we'll throw that in right there so you know it works. All right. You have your little iron sight right there. Now, from my understanding, is they put tape on the weapons. So when they're going through the jungles, and this is something I watched, so when it brushes up against like the trees and the bushes, it makes a different noise that sounds more, doesn't sound exactly like a soldier coming through and brushing up and hearing the echoes of like a metal weapon and everything. Maybe I'm wrong, but I watched something where they talked about it. All right. He has glasses. Why does he have glasses? Well, there's two different reasons that I was told. One is in the comic, he wears glasses. It's only for a couple panels, but he does. Also, the rumor was Doc was supposed to have, Doc's actual face sculpt. But budgetary reasons, they had to go with a regular one. So they decided to go back into lore and create these glasses for him and throw them on there. You don't need to use them. I will say this, these glasses are actually pretty nice. All right, they're not all flimsy. It looks like they'll probably stay on his head pretty nicely. You can see that you can see through them, so they are transparent. The paint is real nice on them. If they make all the glasses like this, I would be happy. If anyone has the Operation Monster Force, General Brown, I would compare them very similarly to that. Except these are translucent. All right, as for his mortar and backpack. So here's his backpack that he has. You can see here, he can grab it up here. It's going to fold open like that, so he can put the mortar, I believe, on the bottom. I kind of forget. No, that would have to be up that has to be up in the up position. I'm not really sure what that's for. We'll do some research when we're done taking pictures. Anyway, looks pretty decent. You can see where it's going to clip right in there. It is open, I'm assuming, for breathability. Really not much to that. Oh, I forgot his pistol. So this, I knew that I was missing something. This is the pistol that also came with Outback. This is one of my favorite pistols. It has the tape around it, which I'm glad they did some paint on it. It's got a nice little light right down there at the bottom. You can see how it's strapped onto it. It's got the port for blast effects, your trigger guard. This might be my favorite pistol. They've done some really nice pistols, but yeah, this is a really good one. All right, the mortar. So here's our mortar. It's going to roll out. And shouldn't this come down and flatten out? Open. Okay. So, a little bit different. So here's your mortar. That's going to open up. This comes off. And then we're going to plug that right into the bottom. And it actually moves back and forth. So, it's got the original style handle. If you don't remember, the original handle for the G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, it wasn't open like this. And what it did was, it put him in a race to see who could snap the thumb faster, him or Zap. I still think it was Zap. All right, so this is just going to sit on the bottom. Again, we can adjust it to the height that we might want it, which means up more. So at the bottom, we can see the detail of the grates right here. It almost looks like that's a trigger. It's not, because mortars just drop and then they fire off. All right. It is a little crooked, but this is pretty solid. So this is going to be one of those ones, probably been sitting in the packaging, heat, cold, heat, cold. You're going to want to straighten this out to get it right. Up here, I have no idea what this is. Is that the crank? Oh, I think that's the crank to move it up and down. So I think you crank it to move it up and down, right? That seems to make sense. That's the handle. Handle's going to spin. It's going to crank. You're going to see this turn. All right. Now, the question is, I mean, that's shooting up. I mean, to get it straight, you're not even... Maybe it's supposed to be round. Maybe it's supposed to be round. Which would mean why you have the entrenching tool, where you entrench it down there. Right? I really don't know. Then we have our mortar. I know people were complaining that they only getting one mortar, that they should give you multiple mortars. Most people won't even open this out of the box, and if they do, it sits on a shelf, and they don't do photography with it. People that do photography, I can definitely understand. It is, this is where I complain and say, this is too soft. Again, 4 and up, I understand, but it's all bent out of shape. The detail is pretty nice. You can port it in right there. All right. You have some nice detail to it, and again, you have the tip right there. So my guess is you can kind of plug this in like that. And, I mean, it's not going to sit like that, so you'd have to use, plug this one in here, and maybe just slide that right down there. And now it actually looks like it's firing off. That's actually not that bad, other than, I mean, he's coming off like he needs the little blue pill. A little blue chew right there. Now, if you're wondering, I have one of these, or several thousand. This will squeeze in there if you want to make it look like it has a huge blast. Now, I would suggest probably cutting one of these off. You probably have 1,000 like myself. All right. The problem is this won't plug into there. I mean, I guess we could do, I mean, this really wouldn't make a lot of sense. Yeah. So more than likely what you just need is a little bit of sticky tack. Plop it in right in there, and then, because it looks like that hole there should fit there, but that's rounded out. If this wasn't rounded out, we wouldn't have a problem. As for dropping it in here, it does drop in. You can see it sitting right there. Once we pop this off here, then the question is, how does this go on there? So it must go, all right, so this opens up to support the weight of it. This goes through the back. I don't know, that might be kind of a pain pushing right on his back. I guess we're going to see how well that sits on it, but there you go. Now we get to his helmet. And I know we've seen this helmet before. I don't know with who, but I think we just recently saw it. We saw the little pegs right there. So he does have the visor, which again, the original one had. We have the, well, if you wanted to put the nods, you have your earpiece right there. And then we have the microphone so he can speak. Again, this is protect your ears so you're not having your eardrums blown out, and also be able to hear what's going on. You want some eye protection because you're dropping mortars, but let's be honest, there's a good chance worse is going to happen. And then we have the pouch right in the back there. A nice looking helmet. And once we put them on him, we'll see how it looks. As for the difference in the mortars, I'll quickly take a look at it. This has the original style handle right there. This has a rectangular spot, so that's actually going to dig into it. This actually looks more like the one that came with... Oh, there was another figure. I can't think of his name. But the mortars look close enough, if that's what you're looking for. And if you have the observer, forward observer unit, you could even use this. The color kind of matches. And you actually have different mortars right here. A controlling station. I'll be dropping a classic review of this. That's why it's out. And then you have a spotter station. This here will work perfectly with classified. You get it for like 35 bucks on eBay. All right, that's from the Real American Hero line. Just happen to have it there. So anyway, that's how that all sits. As for the actual figure, I know you're probably like, why haven't you gotten to this yet? Well, if you've been watching my reviews, you know why. So here we go. We're looking at his hair, and this guy is dapper. He's got some really nice hair. Man, their head sculpts and their hair has gotten so much better. And not just them, all the manufacturers with their fades that they've done. So you can see the strands throughout the hair. The hair, nice blonde. Much shorter down here. He's got some nice straight eyes. And I know people say, why are you pointing out straight eyes? There was a time figures were not having straight eyes. Nice yellow eyebrows, some color in the lips. The nose looks good. Ears look good. All right. I believe this is a new weight-bearing vest. So right up here we have his radio. It's got a little bit of string right there, but we can see the radio right there. The paint on the hooks really makes this thing pop. All right, and you can see how it's going to clasp right there. All the way to the back. It has padding on here because you don't want that just digging down. And of course, this is going to be for his back, right? On his arms, he's got the small little pouches, I believe. Looking at this, these are the original arms of, Stalker. Stalker and Grunt, I think, all had these. We get down to the cuffs here, and he's kind of wearing like some sort of type of sweatshirt. Fingerless gloves. It's got a little bit of marks, or design, not marks, but designs right there on the top. Nothing here. He's just a regular green shirt. If you are doing a Fury scene, let's say like Krusty Old Crow, he used the buck of the World War II Wolverine. These two figures may fit perfectly. Again, I could see these guys. Obviously, he's a tank crew, but his look. We get down to his belt here. We can see the belt buckle, some pouches, all wrapping around. And again, this is an overlay. His actual belt buckle, his belt loops are right down there. He's got a pouch right here on the side, once again with the little tie. You can see all the detail and the wrinkles inside of it. The paint here, maybe not the best, that's for sure. There's one thing to do black straps, but you didn't make it all the way. The detail on it looks really good, and same with on this one. Here we have the holster for the pistol. See this? It's kind of what I was talking about early on. You can see the wrinkles, completely different bucks, all right? So everything on these two figures are completely different. Maybe not the gloves. Maybe not the hands. So before someone yells at me and says, the hands are the same, you can't say it. Okay, I got it. All right? For the most part, everything else is different. He's got different boots. You can see the laces, two different tones. You can see kind of the latch right there. This figure looks awesome too. But then we get to this. Can you see this? This is just problematic. Now this is one of those things I'm probably going to have to heat up because it seems way too tight to get up there. So without heating it up, this thing's just going to be floating. And before someone complains, he's literally going to be stepping on it. So I'm not a fan of that. And this kind of goes back to what I said earlier on. There we go. I guess I got it all the way up. But that's eventually going to float back down. Here, some of these will stay up pretty nicely, but it kind of goes back to what I said. Sometimes you hear reviewers and you think they're complaining about stuff. In actuality, we're just pointing stuff out. Maybe it's not something that bothers you, but it's there to show you, you know, what it is that, you know, what we're seeing. And again, I'm not telling you not to like anything. All right, so to compare these two, they both have blonde. He's very blonde, and like I mentioned, these are the same face sculpts. So it would have been irony if they would have given them the same face sculpt, just with different color eyes and hair. But they give him character. They created a new vest, which matches this. The only difference was they put a radio on it. Here he has the pouches right there. He has both pouches right up there. He's got the pouches right down there on his shoulder, or on his shoulders, on his thighs. But this one here is the holster for the gun. We get down, and he has the two-tone boots. So he has the brown and the green boots, just like the original. They gave him the his own belt with a couple little pouches on it, which he does not have on this. Completely different backpack, but don't worry, because more than likely we're going to get a retro one. And we already know Zap is coming with this style backpack. So if it bothers you that much because you need something so retro, you can buy an extra Zap and use that backpack. All right. As for his articulation, he can look down that far and he can look up that far. Very sad. Side to side. T-pose. There's the shoulder swivel and the bicep swivel. Double pinless elbows. And obviously he has a rocker for his wrists. All right, same with on this side. Again, I will point out, he does have the butterfly joints, but they don't really work. And no, this is not obstructing. They barely cross over. They work better in the back, which I don't need them in the back. He has ab crunch, so he crunches over pretty well. I have a feeling like this guy should crunch a little bit more than what... Now, see, this one here, he only crunches that far, where that guy crunches way further. Actually, his back is also... I guess his back isn't really sticking up. So, depending on how they're cut, and what I mean, cut, molded, they don't always ab crunch the same. As for his going back, he goes back that far. He can swivel back and forth actually pretty freely. He's actually a little loose. Not awful, but a little loose. I know this is an issue. I did point out with crankcase. But you have this gap right here. All right. There's the Jean-Claude Van Damme, which is really good because you don't have the straps there. Drop down hips, so they can go up and down. There's your thigh swivel. Double pinless knees. Boot cut at the boot and your ankle rockers. Now, as for arming this guy up, you take this helmet. And I gotta say, I mean, it looks cool. It doesn't have the same character. There is something about that Steeler that is character. I do like the fact that we can see through it, so you can still see his eyes. I actually think it looks better up. Again, it just makes him seem like he's talking. I like the way the microphone is. This is actually pretty solid. All right. That's actually pretty sturdy. Where this one, well, this one's actually sturdy, but it's kind of pushed right into his face. All right. We grab our pistol. Throw that pistol right down there. So that looks good. We're going to pop all of this on. And don't worry, we will get to the glasses, I promise, because, let's be honest, that has been problematic with so many of these figures. Because I just feel like they struggle with the glasses. All right, so that doesn't really stick into his back. All right. But what I do have here, so that kind of plugs in here. And if I can find it, the entrenching tool, I think, will go... Nope. I thought that peg was going to fit properly. Because if you remember, he had the pegs on the back, Outback did, and they plugged in right there. So anyway, I'm not really sure where we can put the entrenching tool. Do we just slide it underneath it? I mean, it's nice that they give it to you. And I know for the longest time, everything they were trying to make it so they could fit on the person. But it comes to that point that they're just trying to add value because of the price point that they have to market as. All right. As for the new gun, oh, actually, let's get the knife in here. As for the new gun, pry open his hand. And so this is another thing that I mentioned once again. The fingers only go that far. Take your razor blade, go right there, and just kind of rock it back and forth. And get it right to there so you're in the middle. I've had some people be like, be careful, it looked like you were going to cut yourself. Seriously, you're just pushing this up and you're just sliding it back and forth. It will literally cut right into the finger. And now, your finger can hold the weapon a little bit better. All right. So he can carry everything on him for the most part. He has to walk around with his entrenching tool. All right, so here we are, Steeler. Here we have our Short-Fuse. Let's check out these glasses because it's been problematic. So, wow. So they fit on perfect. They don't fall off, and they look really good. That looks really good, dude. Like, look at his eyes through there. Hasbro, just stop everything. In your production, look at how you did the police officer glasses and police officer leather neck and Mercer in Short-Fuses, and that is how every single one of the glasses should be made. Nothing like Sergeant Slaughter's. Nothing like the Dreadnoughts. Now, I don't think you're not getting this down with it. It's going to push that down. You'd have to take this off, pop this on here, and then fight to get this in here. So, but if you want the glasses on here, I'm going to say it's completely possible, but I'm not going to do it. It's going to take you a little bit of time. All right. So as for a couple posing, I'm assuming because of this here, this guy shouldn't really have too many issues. So I will say this, take the backpack off first. Let's move the glasses out of the way so we don't ruin our one of our few good sets of glasses. Pry that hand open. This is why you don't need those open hands, those C hands that people want for cupping the gun. Just pry the hand open a little, and it actually makes him look like he's grabbing it. All those open hands that other manufacturers have done is a great idea. The problem is they don't really hold the weapon. This actually makes you seem like you're holding the weapon. All right. So, I don't mind he might be on one toe, but let's say he's moving through something. I know we can stand him with the backpack. Probably not right in that position. But we can move him around without a problem. Can we get him on one foot? Can we get him running with that backpack? Put that visor down. Look at that, 1 foot. All those people that say, hey, you know what? I don't know how you do this. It's really not that difficult. It takes a couple seconds. And you can kind of pose these guys on 1 foot. All right. You don't need to cut every single finger. But if you see one, that's all you have to do. It's very simple. It takes no time. And if you cut yourself, I'll be honest, it's really on you. All right. So there's Steeler and Short-Fuze. And they were both on 1 foot. You guys can just go back and watch it. Oh, come on, Short-Fuze. Move them over. There we go. 2 guys running on 1 foot. Well, I guess you run on 2 feet, but you get the point. As for getting Short-Fuze into a nice position, where he's going to drop that mortar. Oh, look at that thing popped off already. Looks like that's going to float back and forth a little bit. Pop that right there. Going to hold that mortar. Let's move that foot. And there you go. He's looking forward. He's getting ready to fire. Clearly, the Mobat has been disabled. All right, because my house is a tank commander out and about. Well, there's your reason. He's about to fire that mortar off to give them some protection. Maybe for a Mauler can come, because the Mauler is cooler than the Mobat. But there you go. I think it's time to wrap up this review. It's gone on a long time, and I appreciate you guys all sticking around watching it. All right, there you go. So that is your Target exclusive Short-Fuze and Steeler review. I know people have wanted the OG13 for quite some time. We hear the complaints about it. The reason why they do this is because they want people to be invested in the line and not just get the original figures and then bolt. It's what keeps people coming back. But here's also what I'm going to say about that. If this is what they're going to give us, the quality, and I know before someone starts talking about other manufacturers and how they're better quality, I understand. But the look of this, the quality, the new weapons, different things like that, I'm happy that they're waiting. Because as much as I enjoyed the original Classified when they came out in, 2019, 2020, I love where everything has gone. I had no problem with the Operation Blackout stuff. I know a lot of other people hated it. G.I. Joe, understand, has always been evolving. We got to the point where adult collectors didn't want it to evolve anymore. They just want the original stuff of what they had. Not all of them, but a lot. If this is what we're going to give us, if you're going to give us a little modern take on the Vietnam era of the O-ring stuff, then I'm glad that you guys waited. That goes for Colonel Hawk that we have. Stalker is as Stalker as can be. Retro Snake Eyes, Retro Scarlet. Again, they did a wonderful job, and they continue to impress, at least me, maybe not everyone. I've heard the complaints. I see it. I understand what people are saying. I think this is the right way to go. But I'm going to get out of here. You got to see how they look compared to the original. You can probably tell, hey, they're probably going to do some sort of retro card eventually, and that's all well and dandy and great, right? That's what people are going to want. Give it to them, and it's just extra money. You're just doing repaints, and for the most part, people go, oh, they're just reusing molds. Like, did you not see G.I. Joe in the 80s? Have you missed Masters of the Universe? That's what all these manufacturers do. They reuse bucks. They reuse weapons and accessories. And they give you new ones as they come along. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here. You stayed this long. Thank you very much. Please don't go anywhere. take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a classified review. Now maybe you're thinking, hey, you got a lot of boxes back there. Have you reviewed any of those? Well, you're unlocked. I've reviewed them all. And right up here will be another review, and down here will be a playlist of all the classified figures that I've reviewed. Take care.